All right, partner, we're live.
2 minutes late, man.
two, 2 minutes and 10 minutes late. I
On
know when I
time
hear
is
about
late,
this.
man. That's one of my standards.
See, I feel like I'm working for the Cozza Law Group today
Oh,
or something.
You've been fired today. You are.
You see how I get treated here? I'm supposed to be an equal. In
No,
this
you are an
situation.
equal. You are an equal.
How you doing, partner?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Doing great here. Thanks to everyone who has tuned in for any of these. This is actually number 4.
Yeah.
Having a blast. We're figuring all the audio and video out, so be
Mhm.
patient with us, friends.
Please.
There's going to be some delay, maybe, or the terrible secret is I'm using I shouldn't even say this. I'm using an iMac from 2014, and it may be a bit underpowered.
Yeah, and my terrible secret is I'm using someone in my 50s to do this.
See, we're
That
hampered.
was a setup, man.
We're hampered.
2 minutes late, man. You got to take a couple punches from me.
I deserve it. Okay,
right.
How about this week? Like just
What the fuck, man?
Where do you want to start? Because we are going to talk a little bit about the politics of personal destruction, which kind of plays into what's going on right now.
Yeah, I mean, do you want to talk about the Titanic?
Let's talk about the Titanic. Let's not start with Biden and Trump and all that nonsense.
So apparently there's a submarine that's lost. It was like, what? And please correct me if I'm wrong. Was it they were sightseeing, like going to look at the remains of the Titanic?
I think so. Very well. There was a couple very wealthy individuals there that probably paid a boatload of money to go on this thing. And did you happen to see the size of this thing? It's not very big.
No, it had like the last I saw. I think right when I got here, there was 70 hours of oxygen left on this thing.
It's kind of really sad.
How do they lose it? Like, where do they go?
You can't find it.
Like, okay, we know where I mean, I guess the ocean is so big and so vast that we haven't discovered all of it. But I feel like there's other shit going on in this world that, like, how are things just aliens are coming, things are disappearing, submarines. First of all, who the fuck goes and looks for the Titanic? Like, I don't care how much money I have.
The movie was a snoozer, man.
But my thing is like, well, I guess maybe that's someone's thing, but I don't want to go on a submarine to look at a boat that crashed. Like, I don't.
Well, let me ask you this: if you had the money, would you have paid all that money to go to the moon, or to, like, what did not even go to the moon? They just left orbit. Didn't Bezos and had that company, and people paid a lot of money to go up there and just, like, look down at the planet for a little bit and then just come back.
I feel like, why? And 2, I could do a lot better, a lot more good with that money than just going up into space to say, guess what, guys? I went to space and you didn't. Like, who gives a fuck? That's just me. Like, that's just me. I don't.
More money.
Maybe when you have so much money, it doesn't, like, to
I
them.
would not know.
That's like $10. So yes, I spent $3 on this energy drink on my way here. Maybe that's what it's like to them to go up into space. Didn't think about it.
So speaking of that, so you spend $3 on an energy drink.
Yeah.
And this caffeine laced dark tar is also an energy drink, and it's more cost effective.
Yeah.
And more natural.
It has less caffeine in it, though. And this tastes a little bit better in the evenings.
I'm not going to knock you on your.
No, I mean, I like coffee.
Just saying. I'm just saying. Okay,
I get it. Titanic's gone.
Well, how about all this UFO stuff, man? Yeah. It's unbelievable. There's a whistleblower. I can't pronounce his last name. It's Gary Bosch or something, and he enacted, I guess, a whistleblower thing for the government.
Well, I heard there was a bunch of stuff that came out that these people were all talking about, all these things that have been happening for decades.
Well, that's what he said. So this guy said, and I think he was an employee for a specific particular defense area, and he basically said that we have lots of crafts going back 80, 90 years, and that he was made aware of all this stuff by other employees. And he said it's really true about how they run how the government runs this stuff, where they compartmentalize all areas of the process so that each group cannot talk with the other groups. And that's not how science is done. Science, and that was Bob Lazar's biggest thing when he came through, is, look, science, if you're trying to do science, you want as much communication as possible. But for these government agencies, they really compartmentalize each individual task so the groups don't intermingle, mix, or commiserate.
Right.
Which is I guess that's
Well, more knowledge is power. I mean, you give, if someone in those groups becomes a person that has all that knowledge throughout that food chain, they become a more powerful person, right? If you compartmentalize people, they only know little piece, they can't put the full story together. You can discredit them very easily. That's a tactic. It's a strategic tactic in politics, in any type of industry, right? The less a person knows, the easier it is to discredit them. If a person comes in and says, well, I worked here, 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 I can connect the dots. It's harder to discredit someone that knows the information from 5 agencies as opposed to 1 agency. Yeah. That's the tactic, in my opinion.
It's almost like a management tactic.
Yeah, it's a strategic tactic. Like, hey, let's make sure this shit doesn't get out. Because if we started really talking about in mainstream, by the way, guys, for like 80 years, there's been some shit flying around. We just haven't told you. We don't know what it is. It's from another planet. Kind of aliens. I think the world would go batshit crazy.
But aren't they kind of like doing that now? Or slowly?
Are they? Or is it a false flag? Who knows?
Yeah, so
that's a whole other thing.
We're getting ready to spend another $1 billion in black budget money. Or what's a billion nowadays? 100 billion in black budget money. So don't look over here.
Yeah.
By the way, there's aliens over here.
Right. I mean, a lot of things in this world, they just don't make sense anymore. Like, I can't put it all together. And again, there's double standards in politics. There's too much misdirection.
Do we have are there 2 systems of justice in this country?
Yes, absolutely. In my opinion, yes, absolutely. Which is, I mean, there is a justice system, but I think the rules are applied differently to different people. People in power and people not in power.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a race thing. I don't think it's a gender thing. I don't think. I mean, I'm sure there's certain
pockets
of that, absolutely. But I think as a whole, if you're asking me on a holistic level, I think justice is applied differently to the wealthy as it is to the non-wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
People in power and not in power. That's just unfortunate.
Yeah, and that's and then the scales of justice are supposed to be blind, right?
Sure.
I mean, that's what the statute is there for. And then there's arguments about that. And you're never going to have a perfect system. I get it.
Never.
The country is mired. Did I use that word right? Or is it mirrored? It's mired.
Mired.
See, I got it right.
I like it.
The country is mired in complete division and has been for a couple of years now, like we've never seen before. I mean, we assume the math is pretty equal, like 50-ish, both sides are very close to it, but the division is so rife right now. And I think each side kind of thinks that justice is slanted. I know that the side that's not in power right now thinks that justice is slanted based upon political affiliation. I mean, that's being pushed out there.
Well, yeah, I think whatever party's not in power always thinks that. But I think if you just take the application of justice to the president and the former president, I mean, it's pretty plain as day, in my opinion. Doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out there's 2 standards being applied right now. I mean, one is we are out to get you no matter what, and we'll fabricate shit if we have to. The other one is, there's a bunch of stuff, but let's not look over there. Let's give this guy some credit. Let's feel sorry for him. He was going through a tough time. That's bullshit. I would have more respect for the system if the same scrutiny they're applying to Trump, they applied to Biden. And whether they find Trump guilty and Biden, I don't care. I don't care about the result. I care about the application of the process.
Yeah.
And if it's applied consistently across the board, I have no problem. But here, I mean, a layman can figure it out. It's not being applied correctly. I mean, look what came out today. Like they indicted Hunter Biden on what? Gun charges and tax evasion. There's all kinds of other shit about. There's a whole website devoted to his laptop.
Well, why did it take 2+ years?
Correct.
To get to where we were today? Like, how did those charges take 2 years?
Because of who's in power. That's the problem.
That's the assumption.
Well, I mean,
it's all we can see, right?
True.
That's what
we
can see.
And look, maybe I'm wrong, and I hope that I'm wrong. Deep down, like I hope there's a fair justice system. Right? We live in America. I don't want to see anybody in power fail.
Right.
I mean, that's not. I want whomever is in power to succeed because it's best for the country. I want to see the application of justice applied across the board in a consistent manner, in a fair manner, and I can't I'm a lawyer. I can't look at what's happening now and say that is the case. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there are things I don't know that people smarter than me know. They can see. I can't. I can only, comment on what I see and from my perspective, and I don't see a fair application of justice being applied.
Okay, let's play devil's advocate for a second.
Sure.
Is there a better way to communicate to the public, the entire public, what had to happen according to the Justice Department in regards to Trump? Would there have been a better way to say, we understand he's running for president. We also understand he's a former president. We also understand he's a very high profile person. We understand the 100-mile view optics to the layman on the street. We see how this looks. But here's the reason, or here's the reasons why the Justice Department has felt they needed to do this and this. Could it have been communicated better to the public? Number two, does it warrant being explained better to the public? Does it warrant it? I mean, because you can make the argument that most people aren't that sophisticated to really understand the ins and outs of the legal system. Well, I mean, should we have known? I guess what I'm saying is it looks on its face so bad that both sides know it looks shitty.
Yeah. Okay.
So being in such an unusual circumstance, being the defendant is such in an unusual position.
Yeah.
With a lot of, could the entire process been more thoroughly explained to the American people beyond what it has been?
I don't think it's been explained at all. One, and two, I don't think no matter how much you explain it, the people that hate Trump are going to hate Trump. The people that are for Trump are going to be like, this is bullshit. You can't, in my opinion, explain people off their position.
I'm with you 100%. I agree.
I just don't think that's the case.
But you just said, you opened up that statement by saying that you don't think it's been explained at all.
I don't think the context of the complaints that were filed have been explained in a way that the average person can understand.
I guess that's what I was getting at.
I think that's the case.
I think the average person on the street does not understand.
I'm a lawyer. I don't fucking understand
what he was actually charged with.
Right? They they failed to mention the Presidential Records Act. There's plenty of things and again, I'm a lawyer, so I know some of this and I read into it a little bit. There's a lot of it's political theater, in my opinion. That's really what it is. I mean, it's whether he was wrong for doing it, okay, but is it a chargeable offense? I don't necessarily think so. I think this is all. I mean, the DA of Manhattan just got sued now for the way he's handling this. I mean, this is all. I mean, think about it. You're coming up to an election year. You have the Democrats in power. We know what's happening with Biden. We know he's not mentally fit. I mean, it's pretty fucking apparent. And I feel sorry for the man. You have someone who people hated, who they got out of office and now has more steam than he did in the 2016 election right now. And they're scared shitless because here's what's going to happen. If he gets in office, he's going to blow the fuck out of Washington. He's got 4 years to do it, and that's it. There's no second term for him. So that is their biggest fear right now, in my opinion, that if he wins, their entire system is going to come crumbling down because he's got 4 years to do it and only 4 years, and he doesn't have to give a shit about re-election. So they're doing everything they can to divert the attention away from his power and try and paint him as a corrupt criminal. To keep him out of office, in my opinion.
Okay. So, I don't know. I'm going to put you on the spot. Go into your crystal ball for a second. What's the next year and a half look like? Like, what could he be elected and still be fighting these indictments?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, absolutely. I think the next year and a half, we're going to see everything they can to divert the attention away from Biden's failing mental condition and all the shit going on with Hunter Biden. And they're going to put all they can onto how bad of a person Trump is. And when shit starts to bubble up against Biden or Hunter Biden, there's going to be new UFOs or new aliens or fucking Bigfoot or the Loch Ness Monster or something to divert our attention, because that's kind of what's been happening.
Okay.
That's how I look at it. I mean, if you add up if you connect the dots, it's like that's what's going on. It's hard for me to think otherwise, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I am not an expert on everything, on anything actually.
You're not?
No, no, the farthest thing from an expert.
I'm
But
so
I think,
shocked.
but that's my point. Like, I think if you just use logic and connect the dots,
yeah.
I mean, you have. I mean, look at Fetterman. Like, you have all these people that should not be in politics.
Right.
They can't put a sentence together. Like, let's do what's best
Sadly
for the country.
so. Yeah, sadly so. Okay. So you think it's entirely possible that the president, the elected or the president-elect, or possibly the sitting president of the United States might get convicted of felonies?
I don't think he'll get convicted. I don't think he'll get convicted. I don't. Again, like, why did this take so? The one in New York's bullshit. Like, this other one down in Florida, right? This next case. I mean, why all of a sudden are they bringing all these up? Like, why not 6 months ago? Why not a year ago? Like, it's not like he just got these documents now. They knew about this supposedly for a long time. Why now? They're timing it right because they know how long a case takes.
So isn't that the part of the justice system? You're an attorney. I'm asking a question.
Yeah.
Isn't that the part of the justice system that the public really mistrusts, is that it generally moves slow?
Yes.
And it can be moved at the pace in which personal vendettas and things can come in there. So the pace of the law, the pace of it,
yes,
can be absolutely manipulated. And the average guy on the street does understand that.
Yeah, that's why I hate most fucking lawyers. Like, that's the problem. That's why people hate lawyers. That's why I don't like most lawyers, because they use the rules to their advantage in a nefarious way. Like, we have rules, but there's always, again, I'm thinking of a couple cases just we're handling offhand, and it's just so much bullshit has happened, but because the rules give exceptions and allow these things to happen, it just delays the process. A lot of the shit we've been dealing with on a couple things should have been dealt with and been done with already. But we're, a year and a half into something, and we're still dicking around because the rules and the other side is playing around with the rules. That's the problem. Our system's broken, in my opinion. It really is. It needs revamped. The whole justice system, the political system, the systems in general in this country are rigged, in my opinion.
What a shame, though. I guess the citizens been saying that for centuries, probably.
Yeah.
But to really believe, you go to school, public school, you're taught civics, you're taught all these things. You want to be able to instill, I don't know, some belief structure with these kids, right? I mean, don't you remember when you were little to be proud to be an American? And
I still am.
Beyond the songs.
Yeah, I mean, look,
beyond the Pledge of Allegiance.
I still love this country. I think it's a great. We have our problems, right? But I think you see all these people that they travel all over, and they're like, "Oh, this country was so great. They do all this. They do all this. They do all this," and they bash America. But I don't see you fucking leaving. I don't see you moving there. It's cool when you go on your trips and post a photo and say, this country's so great and they do so much better than America. Okay, pack up your shit and go. America's not going to miss you, but you're not going to, because you know what this country provides.
They never leave.
Exactly. And that's the thing. They want to act like they're these, these evangelists, like 100%. America's so bad and so many other countries got it right, but they're, free health care and this and that. Okay, you don't understand the cost of that. There is a cost to this, to the populace for those things. They don't talk about that. They just like to bash America because they go on their nice vacation that they paid for through fucking capitalism. And then they want to go to these countries and say how great they are. Okay, again, I'll help pack your shit and send you over. Like, that's how I look at it.
Half of Hollywood was going to leave when Trump got elected, right?
Correct.
Wasn't that the thing?
Yes, and no one left. No one, because you're not going to get opportunities like you have here anywhere else. Let's be honest.
Well, I think you can expand that. Like, we could talk about capitalism for a second.
Yeah.
Capitalism is like the whipping boy for most folks on the left of every country's political sphere. The left has been beating up capitalism forever. Yeah. But
from their iPhones on a social media platform.
Exactly.
They were both created
the benefits,
through capitalism.
The benefits of capitalism
Correct.
Are conveniently not discussed
Correct.
in their detest of capitalism.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And that's the problem I have. Like, it's fine if you have those beliefs, then go live those beliefs. Don't bash a country and then afford yourself the luxuries of the country while in the same breath bashing the country.
Yeah.
Like, that's bullshit. Like, that's un-American, in my opinion. And if you're that un-American, leave.
Yeah, it's a simple equation. And it really doesn't fall along, left or right thought. It's just you either love the country
or you don't.
And you accept the ills and you work to make it better. Yeah. Or if you hate the country, then why are you there?
Right. There's no perfect country. That's exactly it. It's like they want to be the social warrior. They want to be like, look at me, I'm for the people. I'm for the people. While I'm traveling in these luxurious destinations that, of course, everybody's fucking happy because you're on a goddamn resort. Like, I mean, what do you expect? Like, these people are going to be miserable? Of course, they're getting paid a good wage because you're charging people $10,000 a week to go to the resort.
Yeah, is it just
like we're not talking about the other stuff?
Yeah. Well, it's funny that in this country we have folks who extol any other version of society except capitalism. Any other version. We have communists, we have socialists, right? We have socialists that are elected. We have socialists in the House of Representatives. We have one in the Senate, I think. Sanders, right?
Yeah.
Socialist. But we have some in the Senate, and they're elected. And they will extol how, we need socialism mixed in with our capitalism, which I still to this day don't understand how that actually would work.
Can't work.
But that's what they extol.
Right.
Okay. But to your point, everything about the modern conveniences, from getting in the plane to go from Washington, D.C. to their districts, to the communication devices they use.
Yes. Doesn't Bernie Sanders drive an Audi R8?
And flies first class. I know personally.
Correct.
And the Starbucks, the ridiculously priced Starbucks coffee they have, all those niceties, and the hundreds of dollars they spend in evening gowns for their galas and with their other, socialist friends, so they can get their moment of fame on their cameras on the red carpet there. I mean, come on.
Right. Yes.
It's like it doesn't. Look, I mean, I'm all for it. If you have a cause and you want to bleed that cause, that's fine. And you have a right to say whatever you want to say. But I also have a right to look back and judge you and make an assumption about what I'm ingesting here.
Yeah. I mean, that to me, the simplest analogy is the fitness trainer that tells their clients to work out and eat healthy, but doesn't do the same. It's like, it's the same analogy. It's like, you're saying the virtues of socialism and capitalism is terrible. Okay, then stop engaging in capitalism. Okay, just wait for the government to pay you, or give up some of your luxuries to help other people. They like the luxuries, but they want to be the social justice warriors on social media.
Yeah,
to feel like they're one of the people.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a facade.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely. I love capitalism because I think it can bring out the best in a human.
Absolutely.
The idea of achievement and industrious behavior. Yes. And then if you blend, if you're wise enough and cunning enough to put kindness with that, it can create a wonderful life.
Absolutely.
It absolutely can. I love that. Is there bad greed in this country? Well, it's a tough word to discuss but ultimately, sure. Yeah. Unbridled greed is not a good thing.
Of course.
I mean, again,
the
definition is subjective.
Yeah, we can
100%.
We can argue
yes, indeed. But I've made the case that there's so less of the unbridled greed devastation as there is with communism and socialism and apathy on the other side.
Agreed.
I mean, we're looking at all the homelessness in the big cities right now was caused by generations of apathy.
That's exactly right.
Of basically, or politicians showcasing their virtue by just passing indiscriminate bullshit that they think is going to make them look great, but never addressing the consequences of their actions.
Right. Here's my position. Like, we need to all come to the table and realize America's the greatest fucking country there is, and capitalism is amazing. How about we look at capitalism as a way to solve our problems instead of looking at capitalism as the enemy? The people that look at capitalism as the enemy are the lazy people, in my opinion. I'm sorry, I'm going to say it. The people that want socialism, they're not doing anything. They're not going out and changing the world. I try and not pay attention to the noise because I want to do something bigger than myself. I believe I was put here to do something bigger. And that's why I believe in the power of capitalism, because I'm benefiting from it, but I'm utilizing it appropriately. I'm giving back. I'm doing the things I feel I should be doing. I'm not pointing at everybody and saying what they're doing wrong. I'm looking at what I'm doing right. And too much in this country, we're looking at what everybody else is doing wrong,
100%.
what's broken. How about we look at what's fucking good in this country and start doing the shit that matters to try and fix the problems? Let's stop sending money to fucking Ukraine and get our homeless vets off the street. Let's do shit like that. That's the stuff that we need to start doing in this country and focusing on, instead of going across all over God's green earth and bashing America when you come back and afford yourself the luxuries of living in America.
Yeah. And in the same time, too, it's like,
you triggered today, man.
Well, it's all, but I also think a lot of time has been spent, and I'm sure that our, you can point to the last couple decades for this, but we spend more time arguing with each other or finding fault in our fellow Americans,
right,
and attacking them,
right,
than we do really concentrating on our enemy,
Correct.
Our real enemy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Life gets pretty simple when you treat your fellow American with kindness and decency, and understand that we all have differences, and that's okay. I don't have to agree with you. You don't have to agree with me. That's the beauty of our country. Mm-hmm. That's why this country was founded. We need to go back and look at that and really rethink the way we're operating in society now, because society is broken and we're going down a slippery slope if we don't course correct.
So the politics of personal destruction,
mm-hmm.
It's not a new concept.
No.
I remember distinctly hearing that phrase, and I want to say, Rocco, it was before Clinton had his scandal. I want to say early 90s. It was Clinton. It was Clinton and Bush won.
Okay.
And that election got a little testy.
Sure.
And then the Republicans took control in 94.
Yes.
For the first time, the Republicans got the House in 94.
Yep.
A lot of braggadocious stuff was going on at that time. Gingrich was a firebrand, Trent Lott, right? And then Clinton had his escapade. And you were seeing a situation where family members were like being kind of like harassed by media, and you really never saw that in politics. The family was like, they smile and they get in the car, they're gone. But but now the family was being harassed. I mean, things were changing.
It became personal.
In my lifetime, that's when I think that late 90s era, and what coincided with that, the internet.
Well, I mean, if you look at the philosophy or the theory, I mean, there's different arguments that started back, in the Adams-Jefferson election, and in the Nixon, time frame with the Vietnam War, and there was a lot of. But I think, yes, internet and the Clinton scandal is kind of when it really came to head, and I think now it's a tool utilized in politics. I don't think it leads to anything good, because now I do understand there is a level of personal responsibility a politician has to have, right? If you are a corrupt human being and a not good human being, are you fit for office? No, I don't believe so, right? I don't believe so. But do we have to call into question everybody's personal side of things? And that's what's happening right now. I mean, look what's going on right now. We don't even talk about the fucking issues anymore. Like, I can guarantee you, and I would love to do this. If we went on the street in downtown Pittsburgh and walked and asked 30 people their thoughts on politics in this country, Biden and Trump, they would not talk about, the first thing they would not go to is the issues. It would either be fuck Trump or fuck Biden. Trump's a piece of shit. Biden's a brain dead idiot. That's what would happen. No one would talk about the issues. Like, I mean, think about that. That's what's happening, and that's because we've made it the case. We've made it personal. We made it okay. We made it about the personal characteristics of a person, which I understand is part of who you are, right? If I ever run for office, my character will be in question. I understand that. Am I perfect? No, I'm faulted 100%. However, it should not be just about that. We have to understand the person's philosophy and their politics and their issues.
I wonder if that shit even matters anymore.
Well, it doesn't. And that's the problem. I mean, does it?
I think during the last election, I want to think that one of the two parties did not even put out a platform, which was just crazy to me. Like the national election, I think
The platform was "We're not Trump." That was the platform. Let's be honest. I'm not trying to bash one party or the other. Like, I couldn't care less. But one party's platform is, "We're just not Trump. We're better." They didn't have no one, because a lot of people just voted because it wasn't Trump. They didn't even care what the issues were. It was purely a personal decision based upon the personality of the current president.
So how much of our politics are about feelings? No, really. I mean, how much of that today?
That question a little bit.
Well, I think that we should, as American citizens in the year 2023, have a level of sophistication where we are aware of policies or actions, and maybe have a level of understanding of why or why not they are done and who's doing them and so forth, the players. I think that we have the capacity to be better informed, making better informed decisions of who we elect. I get that. We have the capacity, but as each year goes by, the real reason why our politicians are there is really not that of interest to the average citizen on the street. I think it's really about feeling good about my candidate, feeling good about their promise to go get the other person. Like, I think that stuff is way more important than their position on, I don't know, international trade, supply side economics.
If it comes on Amazon, they're good. They don't care. I can order on Amazon. I don't need the president to talk about trade as long as I can get it from Amazon. Again, we live in a society, an emotionally driven society. I do not believe logic leads decision making anymore. In the majority of the populace, that's what I believe. Is a very emotional. It started with the pandemic. The pandemic created so much fear and emotion in people that I think people are still having PTSD from that. Like, you can't remove that emotion. We were triggered, and it was that mass psychosis. Let's create fear, and people have become so fearful that it's a hard time for them to discern real emotion from created emotion. Like, that's where I think the people are having the problem right now. They don't know if this emotion has been manufactured by the media or if it's something they truly feel. You know what I mean? Because I look at there are certain emotions I fundamentally feel that when I know something, like when I'm frustrated or pissed or joyous or excited, that's an emotion I can feel. Or there's emotions that I've been triggered by someone else, by someone else's conduct or statement. That's I can discern those two emotions. I don't let the latter affect my decision making. The former, when it's my own emotion, I can let that lead my decision making and guide me with my intuition. If you say something that makes me pissed off, I'm not gonna use that to make my decision. I'm not even consider. I'm like, it's an emotional reaction to something.
Correct.
It's not my emotion.
Correct.
That's a difference. That's the big difference we need to understand. Too many people right now are looking at it. They're having emotional reactions and making decisions based upon emotional reactions, not pure emotion.
100%. We're also in a would you not agree? We appear to be in a reactionary standpoint.
Absolutely.
We're all living there more than ever since 2020.
Yes.
We learned how to be dictated to. Again, I'm not saying there's dictators out there in terms of our government. I'm saying that, but public behavior certainly was orchestrated by a few.
Absolutely right.
And it's still kind of happening.
I agree. I mean, look, walk around a grocery store and walk past a person, look at them, smile, and say hello. Watch how they react. It's not like it was 10 years ago where they look back and say, "Oh, how are you?" It's like almost in shock. Like, how am I supposed to react? Do you have an ulterior motive? Should I feel offended? Should I feel threatened by you? It's not, I mean, I'm being dead serious. I'm not even joking. Like,
I don't even know what your sex is.
I mean, but think, because I tend to be a pleasant person, right? Like, I'll walk around. If someone looks at me or I look at them, I'll say, "Hey, how are you?" And most people, like, there are some that are super pleasant back. They kind of have that same mentality, but other people are like, "What the fuck are you looking at?" I'm like, just saying.
And see, that sucks though.
Right. That's the society we live in.
You would initially have that guttural reaction, like, "Well, it's not even worth it," because if I want to get that kind of response back from people.
Yeah, but I'm not going to have that guttural reaction.
I know you won't.
Right.
But often I think with most, it's just self-perpetuating the problem.
That's why we are where we are in society. That's why more people need to just step up and just keep doing it. And eventually it'll have, in my opinion, the butterfly effect.
Yeah.
At least that's my optimism.
No, I understand that. I want to get back to the business of the people.
Yeah.
Like, it's supposed to be happening, right? I mean, that's the whole purpose of our government, is to, well, at least I thought I was schooled in that it was to provide for the common defense and to protect the country.
Yeah.
Right.
And regulate interstate commerce. That's the federal government.
Correct.
In a nutshell.
But the federal government now is an all-encompassing behemoth that has their fingers in everything.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yes. And that's the problem.
Yeah. Well,
big government has become the problem.
Well, big government now, and those in it, have the ability to reach into our lives and the lives of their competition and fuck with them in many different ways now. And with each year goes by, and the bigger the government gets, there's more avenues for people to manipulate the citizenry.
Yeah. I mean, just think about how the system works, right? When the president comes on, he appoints the heads of certain agencies, right? Biden comes in, he appoints the head of the National Labor Relations Board, which impacts employers, right? So now, and this is an actual problem that's happening, right? Under Trump, rules were interpreted one way. Under Biden, the same rules are interpreted the complete opposite way. How is a business supposed to fucking run? Like, that shouldn't be the case.
No.
Like, we shouldn't do that. Like, it should be a bipartisan appointment of these federal agencies. It should not be appointed by the president in power. Because again, the rules change too much. Or it should be who's ever in power, the other party appoints the people, to have some balance in the branches of government.
Yeah. You're right, because the amount of appointments that a administration can do, it just wields additional power.
Yeah, it's all these heads of these agencies, right? Like, think about who they appoint. Heads of all these agencies that they don't make laws, but they make policy decisions, right? Those can be just as strong as laws and actually have more of an impact, right? There are laws on the book that employers have to comply with, but there are rules set by the EEOC, the National Labor Relations Board, that have interpretations that, depending on who's in power, they decide, are we going to enforce it this way or this way? Like, is talking about your boss over text messaging in a group protected activity that the boss can't fire you for, or is it not? Well, it depends on who's in power. This is actual shit that goes on. This is shit we deal with. How are you supposed to advise a business? Like, it's kind of like, it's the Wild West, dude. I don't know what to fucking tell you. We'll handle it as it comes up. It's hard to really give solid advice because it changes so much. That's the problem with the system. It's broken.
And the average person on the street, me included, looks at it as just this totally encumbering mess that is beyond my pay grade. And we all kind of just check out.
Yes. Yeah, I understand that. Most people do. And even clients that are businesses of mine, they're just like, I can't figure this all out. So I'm just going to keep operating the way I operate and take a chance.
Right.
And I get that. Like, I understand that. And I understand the frustration. There are just some bullshit laws and bullshit appointments and bullshit policies. And this is the problem. And there's no consistency in the system.
Right.
And that's the problem. Inconsistency creates those fear-based emotions.
When I was young, you heard the phrase, politics is dirty. Like, you get in there, it's just a dirty game. So that had a connotation in the 70s and 80s, what that meant. But it was nothing like what it means today.
No, I agree.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
So guy runs, or gal, or in between, maybe, I don't know how you classify that. They runs for president, whoever it is, their significant other and their family. How do we keep them safe? Like, or should we? I mean, how much of their family life is fair game?
That's a hard question to answer. I'm going to be honest with you. It's hard. That's hard for me to answer because I understand both sides of the argument. And I don't know which side I fall on, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Because I think that, okay, if you're putting yourself affirmatively into the public eye, that's what comes with it, right? You're going to be scrutinized. Your family's going to, you have to understand that, right? Kids should absolutely be protected. Kids should never be brought into it. You're under 18. Those kids should not be.
When do you think that started to go sideways?
I don't know. That's a good question.
It's sideways now.
Yeah, it is. I think probably under Obama, they started looking at his kids and attacking, which I thought was unfair.
I think Jimmy Carter's daughter, I think.
I mean, maybe like that's before my time.
Bullshit.
I'm a lot younger than you, man. But I think kids are off limits in my mind. Like if you're under 18, regardless of how bad the kid is, like you're a kid, right? You can't make informed decisions yet. You're still young. Once you're over 18 and your family's in the public eye, there's going to be some level of scrutiny. Now, again, I think, is there a way to limit it? Sure. But again, this is where politicians need to be bigger than the system. They need to be bigger people and say, you know what? I would love to see two politicians say, you know what? We're the candidates. We're going to debate. We're going to attack each other. But let's both agree and make sure both of our parties and our camps agree. The kids are off limits. The family's off limits.
Didn't it used to be that way?
I wish. I mean, maybe it was. Like I don't know, because again, like I started getting into politics in the 90s when it started going sideways. So that's when I was in college. That's when I started. Like Clinton was kind of like the first election I remember. I'm like, this dude got a blowjob in the White House. I'm like, what the fuck is politics? So I didn't know. But that to me is like, I wish we can get to a point where we're like that in this country, where the politicians say, let's debate the issues. I'm at question, right? My character's a question. I want to be your president. I absolutely put my character in question. Should my family's character be in question? No. I think that's something, if politicians could agree to that, I think that there'd be a lot more respect of the system. And I think there'd be a lot less argument and discontent and vitriol and vindictiveness in the system. I think we could start to right the ship, in my opinion.
We seem to have a lust for information. We want to know everything about everybody. Just surface level. We really don't want to go deep on anything.
We want to know
as a people. We just
Correct.
don't. We just don't.
Right.
But we almost feel we have a right to know interesting and maybe private details of everybody, and especially our celebrities. And quite frankly, the term celebrity means so much today. And now somehow has included our politicians, which celebrity and politician decades prior was kind of separate.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I agree. They should be separate.
But the public feels they have a right to know so much more, almost everything on everybody else. It's an illusion, of course, but we seem to kind of like have that lust to have it.
Yeah, because we have a short attention span now, and we want information fed to us consistently. So think about how fast information comes, right? 30 years ago, we didn't have social media. We didn't have a constant feed of information. So getting that story about Clinton, like that took up the news cycle for months, right? Because there's nothing else. Now that would be like 3 days. Then something else would happen and people would get bored. And what's the next thing? Like, that's really where we are.
Well, I think about what actually Nixon did in that robbery, or his part in it.
Yeah.
And taking the robbery as a whole, as I read history, I'm too young to remember the details, but as I read it and I studied it, and it was such a jarring event to this country where they almost were talking about, I think Ford pardoned Nixon for fear that a trial or an indictment could potentially wreck the democracy.
Yeah.
That was the fear.
I understand that. Yeah.
So I think about where we were then.
Yeah.
And where we are almost every day.
Every single day.
Now.
Yes.
It's something new that has more gravity than that. Almost every day. Yeah.
I mean, that's the problem when you have information at your fingertip at the speed of light. I mean, in the sad part is now with AI and all this shit that's going on, it's going to be hard for us to discern what's real information and what's fake. And that's the scary part of what's coming. Like, that really is the scary part, because we are looking for sensational things. We don't want the plain candidate anymore, right? That's why they put Biden up. They said Biden was the safe bet against Trump. There was no drama. He's the safe old grandpa that, you know, people were living in fear. They wanted the safe bets. That's why they put him up. Now it's like, wasn't the safest. There's a bunch of shit coming out. It's like no one wants to play. Think about all the candidates. Like, think about, there's some intelligent people that ran against Trump. Like, intelligent people.
There's some intelligent people running now.
Right. And he will win because he has the most sensational.
Got the megaphone.
He's got the megaphone, and he's also got the most stuff to talk about. And he's the most interesting person. Like, that's what happens, I think.
I think you're right.
And it's whether it's right or wrong. Like, I mean, from a policy point, I like the guy. I think he had great policies. I think, you know, I watched a video the other day. This guy, it said a video CNN will never show you. And this guy went on the streets. I think it was down in, I don't remember where he was, but literally every class of citizens, like every race, every age group, every gender. Now, I'm sure they edited some of it out, but like all the people were literally bashing Biden and said they want Trump back. And the majority of these people were because they loved the country when Trump was here. Like, things were easy.
Well, that's pretty much that's not a hard stretch to understand. Yeah. We were in a better place,
right? Financially. And these were all people probably in their mid 20s to early 30s. They said they want the gas prices back. They want, you know, less problems. They want, you know, better wages. Like, and they're seeing all this shit happen now. And again, we don't talk about it because the party in power controls the media. Yeah. In my opinion, the majority of the media. So they're not talking about all this bad stuff.
The parties have kind of flipped in a way too. Like, you know, the things that the Republicans were being criticized for decades prior as being their tendencies, now the Democrats are doing that, and vice versa. The Democrats were never the party of control and big government. They were the liberals. That I remember the definition was, you know, shove it to the man. Like, fight. You know,
that's what I remember as a kid.
It was a different philosophy. Then again, there's no right or wrong. It's just, I'm just making an observation that it seems like big government and heavy-handed control has kind of flipped.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you another one that may bend your brain a little bit, but sometimes I feel like both the parties are kind of working together to keep in power. Let's keep this.
It's always been a theory.
Let's keep this discord between the masses. Let's keep fighting with each other because we're all still in power. We're all doing well. Like, you don't see any poor Democrats in office. You don't see any poor Republicans in office. They're all making money. They all have power. They all get to do what they want. So why try and fix the problems? Why not just create more problems so they stay in power longer?
Don't kill the golden goose.
That's exactly right. I mean, that's kind of how, you know, as I've gotten older and I lean more towards the middle on certain things, it's like I feel like they're all the same. They're all the same with different masks.
The thing is, though, the system is set up in a way that it takes a consensus to get anything done.
Yeah.
And to get that consensus, the politics of personal destruction is a move. It's almost a philosophy.
It's the workable strategy right now, because you have the media and you have phones with social media that makes it so easy to set forth an attack.
Yeah.
Like, think about how easy it is now to start something that'll ripple through society, ripple through the voting base by using social media.
Yeah.
For sure. It's so, there's so much more power in our hands right now to use personal destruction as a tactic.
Yeah, but isn't it interesting too that that's all increased? The amount of attacks has certainly increased. But look at those who seem to be able to survive them.
Okay.
That's changed. Case in point, like a politician could have an affair.
Yeah.
And it could be made public. Somebody could set them up years prior.
Yeah.
It's an affair. Doesn't make you a good person, but it's an affair. They're done. Just done. They don't stand a freaking chance.
You're saying now or before?
Before.
Yeah.
But now it's just calm. They can do a lot of stuff and get away with it.
Yeah.
I mean, they take a hit in the press, but our attention spans are so light. We're lightweights mentally.
And morality has shifted. Let's be honest.
Good point.
Morality has completely shifted from where it was 30 years
Yeah.
ago. What was wrong back then is not so wrong anymore. It's in the gray. That's up for interpretation.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Because again, like, people argue, how do you define affair, right? Is talking to someone over social media an affair? To some people it is, to some people it's not. So there's so many gray areas right now that I think back in the day, an affair was you are having a relationship with someone else, right? Physical or emotional. Now, and you had to do it. You could talk on the phone or you can meet in person. There's 2 ways to communicate, right?
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't sending fucking telegraphs or Morse code,
right?
Or, now it's like,
well, maybe in the 1800s they were.
Maybe. That's how you had affairs in the 1800s. You send emojis via Morse code, but now you have social media, right? You have phones. You have, there are apps that allow you to do these things. So it's like, where do you draw the line? Like if you're a politician and you have, we'll just say a female politician and you have a male staffer working for you and you're talking outside of work hours, right? Just in very personal, but, non-sexual ways, but very personal, non-work related ways. Is that an affair? Some men or significant others of that politician would say yes. Others would say no. How do you draw the line? That's the problem. That's how morality has shifted in a lot of things that were clear as day, black and white, because we didn't have tools to effectuate things to do it.
Right.
Now we have these tools that allow us to live in the gray. And now people are very comfortable in the gray, and that gray sways back and forth depending on who's around.
Do you think we should have a certain level of decorum or a certain level of conduct, or should we expect for, let's say, the highest position for the presidency and for maybe our senators? Should we expect it though? Should we want that? Should we seek it?
Yes, if you're a fucking senator, put on a suit. Don't wear a goddamn hoodie and shorts to introduce the president. Like, that was our senator. Like, had a hoodie.
It's pretty embarrassing.
And shorts on to introduce the president of the United States. That is not decorum. That is amateur hour.
And I'd be willing to bet you if you asked the president his thoughts of that, he would think it's perfectly fine.
He probably didn't know he was there. I mean, and again, like, and I feel bad.
It should matter. Yeah, I'm the old school. It should matter.
It should matter.
It should matter. You don't go to court dressed like a bum.
No, I would get kicked out by a judge, and I would kick myself out. Like, most days in the office, I'll wear a suit just because I feel like that's more professional.
Could he appear in front of the Supreme Court like that?
No fucking way. No, there's a decorum.
Well, he's standing next to the president of the United States. Put a fucking suit on.
Right. I mean, it's common sense, but I don't know if he's just trying to be a man of the people, if he's just mentally that gone, or if his handlers is like, there's no fucking chance of us changing him. Just do what the fuck he wants.
Off subject for a second. Was there a period of time, Mr. Attorney, where maybe decades ago, in the United States Supreme Court, did the attorneys have to wear a wig?
I don't know about in England. They still do, I believe. I don't know about the U.S. That's just part of their part. That's the barristers thing. That's part of what in England in certain courts, I believe they still do that.
But England, like, did we do that? Like in the 30s, the 20s, that were they have to wear a wig?
I don't know. I don't think maybe like in the 1800s. I don't know. Like, I'm not a courtroom procedure historian or scholar. I know procedure today. I don't have to wear a wig.
Maybe that's what we need to do. Maybe we need to require our presidents to wear like wigs or hats or something, just to humble them, like to give some formality to,
or take a mental exam and make sure. And again, like I'm partially joking, and I do feel for the man, because that's. You're at an an advanced stage of life, and that is scary. Like, to have someone, and I feel compassion for him, but I also understand that he's the leader of the free world, and at a certain level, people around him have to say, we should probably do something.
We need a competent human
Yeah.
that is elected.
I don't care what
freely
party.
elected,
Correct.
exactly, by our republic, that can actually do the business of the people.
Correct.
And we know there's enough wherewithal to make judgments and interact with other people of influence and get shit done.
Yeah, that's it. That's pretty much the standard, in my
opinion. That's not.
That should be the
now.
minimum standard.
That's not there now, though.
No, not now. And maybe it wasn't. He got elected. Maybe it's just deteriorated over the past 2 years. I don't know. Like, I don't pay attention to him close enough. I just know that every time I see him speak, it's
painful.
I have compassion because I feel that there is a deteriorating mental state there. And we're just trying to ignore it by looking the other way. And it's like, let's face it head on. Let's get this man some help. And, understand he's still in office. We can't remove him from office. Let's bring people around that are smart. They can help him make decisions.
Oh, someone's got to push his wheelchair ultimately. I mean, I would think maybe Jill will do that. I don't know. I don't know. Like I don't know. Last question. So AI is on the move here, and we got to go a couple more minutes here because there was a lot of Americans that did not have faith in our voting system in the 2020 election.
Okay.
And I don't want to rewrite whether Trump won, Biden lost, whatever. I mean, there was a ruling, there was an investigation, and apparently we were told as citizens that the voting is, there might be a little pocket of irregularities here or there, but for the most part, everything was on the up and up in 2020. I don't believe it.
Okay.
I'm just telling you, I don't believe it.
Sure.
And I'm not saying the other guy won. I don't know who won.
Yeah.
But I don't believe for a second that from what I saw, that I have faith in that system. I also don't have faith in the current system. Can we do anything? Is there any possibility that this federal government can get us to a point in the next couple of years where there's more Americans that feel that there's integrity with the voting system than there's not? Because right now, I'm willing to bet you the average is probably 50-50 or maybe like 60-40. There's a lot of Americans that don't have faith in the system.
I don't think it's going to change anytime soon, honestly.
Is there a way to do that?
I think it's going to get worse.
Is there a way to do it?
To get people to have faith in the system?
Paper ballots ain't it, pal.
No, I mean, and then you have the people that vote, which are more so the older generation, the younger generation. They don't trust technology, so that's the rub, right? You have paper ballots that aren't trustworthy. Then you have the majority of the populace that votes that are probably over 40, that maybe don't trust technology because they were so used to voting on paper.
Or the machines or like the levers and all that bullshit.
I just feel like we have so much technology right now that we should be able to fix the problem. We can create things that can create shit that we can't even conceive yet. Artificial intelligence. We were playing with it in the office last week when Matt was in doing video for us, and literally just tell that I can't remember what app it was. It's like dogs eating sushi playing poker, and it'll make pictures like that are amazing, like amazing art. Like if we can create stuff that can do that within 10 seconds, how can't we fix the voting system?
I mean,
I don't get it. We should not have mail-in votes. It should be my thing, but that's my whole problem. Like, okay, if you have absentee ballots for military and certain circumstances, okay. But again, mail-in ballots. We'll just send them to you in advance. Send them in whenever you want, as long as we get them around election day.
How about you're allowed to change your vote? How's that shit work?
It's like, are you sure you want to vote for that guy? You can change it if you want. It's like, come on. Like, are you kidding me? Like, again, I love the meme on the internet because it's so simple, but it's so true. It says, if you trust mail-in ballots so much, take $1,000 in cash and mail it to yourself. I guarantee you, no one will do that. No one will fucking do that. But the system's supposed to have integrity. You can't, and that is such a simple. When I read that, I'm like, that is the simplest analogy. Because because I don't trust the system. I don't trust mail-in ballots. There's too much. There's too much room for. There's too many touch points to be manipulated. It goes into a mailbox. I don't know who touches the mailbox. I don't know the postman that gets the mail from there. Where does it go from there? How many people touch it until it gets to where it's counted? Don't know. So people that trust it, okay, put $1,000 of cash, take it out of your bank, write your address, send it back to yourself. If you won't do that, how can you sit there with a straight face and tell me you trust the system? And if you do, that's fucking bullshit.
It's pretty good.
Mic drop.
Well, I still think one of the possibilities to solve a lot of problems, but maybe we have a system that if you present your driver's license, you can go to a screen, identifies you right away with that driver's license.
Yeah.
And it knows you voted. You can't vote again. And then on that screen, you can do your vote.
Yeah.
So have a driver's license or a government issued ID.
Yeah, exactly.
Barcode system on there.
Yes.
Bip.
Done. I agree. I like that.
End of story.
Got my vote.
That to me, that's not.
I never really understood the argument of voter ID is discriminatory.
I've never understood. I have asked Black friends of mine for decades, help me understand that. And I do believe there's folks in rural America
that's
that have I get it. I get it. But I would think in the year 2023, we've got enough technology now. We should be able to reach every citizen who ultimately is responsible to pay taxes.
If you're paying taxes, yes, that's exactly right.
And I'm sure there's other government services, especially as we age. So from a census standpoint, we know they're there. We can get IDs to everybody.
Yes, we can.
We can do that. Yes. We're America. We can do that.
Fuck yeah.
And that would be one way maybe to orchestrate a voting system based upon the ID verification on a touch screen and a barcode scanner. Let you vote.
Yeah.
Now, could it be manipulated? I am positive it could be.
Anything. There's no perfect solution.
Again, we leave it up to the states, and I think that's a mistake. A federal election should have a federal solution and I just believe that. And I'm not for a bigger federal government. I'm just saying you're going to elect federal positions. Then maybe there should be a federal election system, maybe on a different day, maybe different campaigns, maybe.
How about on a day? How about a single day like we used to? You show up on Tuesday and vote.
Well, no, I'm all for that. But I'm saying like maybe the federal gets done on that, then later in the month, the state gets done. I don't care.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying there needs to be more I don't think. And maybe it's always been corrupt. Maybe there's always been voting irregularities everywhere. I mean, who knows, right? You could have all of these different quote unquote independent agencies do all this research, probably some good solid research, and probably come up with a consensus. Either it did or it didn't happen, right? But the problem is we don't believe anything anymore. Our truth is so subjective to each individual person that the facts just don't fucking matter.
Yeah.
So our election system's always going to be mired with the what if scenario.
Perception is reality.
Because our whole world is run that way.
That's the unfortunate
and that's
part.
A shame.
Yeah, it is, man.
We'll close on that negativity.
Come on. You're making me sad.
Not sad. We'll solve all the world's problems in the meantime.
Next week we'll solve them.
Next Tuesday, 7:00. As always, friends, how we see it. Rocco Cozza. I am Eric McKenna. We are out.